Hello, and welcome to the AWS 2021 Public Sector Summit Online. Thank you for joining our session, Accelerates DoD Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification with AWS Cloud. My name is Ulysses Cubillos. I am the Senior Manager Business Development for AWS Government Regions for Regulated Industries. I am leading the development of AWS solutions to help customers accelerate their CMMC certification. We have a great session for you today. First, we'll review the objectives of the session. Then we'll hear from a special speaker on the new DoD CMMC program and how leveraging the cloud can help with compliance. Followed by a review of AWS solutions to help customers accelerate their CMMC compliance. The objectives of the session are for you to first hear why the CMMC compliance program is vital to the U.S. Department of Defense and the latest on the program. Second, understand how leveraging the cloud can help with your CMMC compliance journey. And third, learn about AWS CMMC solutions that will help you accelerate your compliance. To provide information on the U.S. Department of Defense's CMMC program and how the cloud can help with achieving compliance, please join me in welcoming Ms. Katie Arrington, the Chief Information Security Officer for Acquisition and Sustainment. Ms. Arrington is a member of the Senior Executive Service in the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Acquisition and Sustainment and leading CMMC in the DoD. Prior to her CISO role, Katie has an extensive career as a legislator and over 15 years as a senior cybersecurity executive in industry. Katie, over to you.
Thank you, Ulysses, for that awesome introduction. And hello and welcome. This is Katie Arrington, of course, Chief Information Security Officer for Acquisition and Sustainment here in the Department of Defense. And I thank AWS for giving me the opportunity to address you all today about the CMMC program at the department. We're 2 years into this. We started out in January of 2019, and look at how far we've come. We are now in the pilot phase, so we have several pilots that are actually going on right now. I'm going to talk to you about those today, but let's rewind the clock back just so we can talk about why we're here. In the, what we created, and if you look at the placemat, the first pillar that we've created is establishment. Why did we create the CMMC? We needed to create something for the Department of Defense, for our industrial base, to make cybersecurity standards not only understandable, but repeatable and auditable, because cybersecurity is foundational to all acquisition. So back in 2019, as I think everybody should know, we took the NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, special publication, 800-171, which were the 110 controls that NIST determined that the DIB, the Defense Industrial Base, non-federal systems, should impart to create cybersecurity. That NIST standard is something that is baked. It is foundational to the CMMC, the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. It's the essential core of what we're doing. So we took that and we broke it into what had previously not been a maturity level, because one of the things when we established the CMMC, we understood that security is not one size fits all, that we needed to have critical thinking skills imparted on our defense industrial base partners so that we could build upon their capabilities and develop specifically the small businesses and the innovative companies that we depend on for our national defense to actually build in their cybersecurity maturity as their products, their capability matured as well. So we took the NIST, Special Publication 171, and we baked in other cybersecurity standards from around the world. The ISO, the International Standards Organization 27001. We took in the NIST, the cybersecurity framework as well. And what we realized when we were establishing the CMMC is that a lot of these same cybersecurity standards had the same controls, but maybe used in a different way. The terminology may vary, but the output of the control, the need, was still there. We created the model. We laid down, as we created the maturity level, each of the coordinating cybersecurity standards that equaled that NIST control. And that's how we developed the CMMC model. So we have the model, CMMC level 1 through level 5. Level 1 is equal to the FAR. And in that, there are 17 virtual no-cost controls. And when I say virtually no cost, you do have to buy antivirus software. But for the most part of what those 17 controls are basic cyber hygiene, which if we were doing that as a whole, we would not have the problem that exists today. And that's the second portion on the flyer, is about why we did it, the establishment and the why. And the why is we were losing about $450 billion a year in cyber threat espionage throughout the whole of the United States. Our DIB partners, represent about 300,000 companies in the U.S. economy right now. And we saw that bad cyber hygiene was the purveying cause of a lot of what was challenging in our security of our national defense. Simple things like updating your passwords or using two-factor authentication properly or marking data appropriately were things that we weren't seeing in several different reports, GAO and IG reports over the past few years. If you all remember back, the department championed the Delivered Uncompromised by MITRE. Then in late 2018, we had the Navy's Cyber Readiness Review. And all of these were saying those same things. Basic cyber hygiene needed to be imparted. In the DFAR rule, DFAR, which is the Defense Federal Acquisition Regulation 252.204.7012, that rule was put into place in 2015 that required all DoD contractors that were transmitting controlled unclassified information, or FCI, federal contracting information, that they needed to put the 110 controls of that NIST into place. But that was only on contracts that had CUI. What about the rest? So what about that company that is providing, and I'll use an example, landscaping services to the Department of Defense? Do they have any cyber requirement? And we realized that that was not the case and that we needed to impart that. So we set about the rule change, that DFAR rule change, in 2020. In 2015, we executed the DFAR 252.204.7012. And when we did that, we imparted cybersecurity into contracting. But that didn't apply to everyone. At that time, the only people that were required were companies that were transmitting CUI or federal contracting information across their network, storing it or transmitting it. And when we realized is that if we wanted to really secure the industrial base, we had to go and make cybersecurity foundational to all acquisition, not just some, because in the Internet of Things, we are all connected. And how that, the best way to explain that is if you're a contractor and you're just doing landscaping services for the Department of Defense, how you're actually given information on how to bid or to transmit payment invoices to the department, that is actually going across controlled unclassified information, CUI. And we need to ensure that that transmission of data is secure. The adversary, whether it be China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, etc., when they get into a network, their goal is to go in at the least resistant area. So if you were to look across the whole of the DIB, those vendors, those partners that are the least knowledgeable of the exfil are the ones that the adversary gains access to. And then they go through the networks and up to what they're trying to get. So you're doing landscaping and you're bidding on a piece of work. You're getting information about the security of the facility that you're landscaping, mowing lawns. You get the layout of the building. You get the security areas where we have fiber in the ground or infrastructure. You're given that information. That's something the adversary is interested in getting. The fact that you may be working for, 5 other large primes doing same type of thing only helps the adversary gain the knowledge that they're trying to get. It's not just one. That's the big thing of the CMMC, is that understanding that we are all interconnected, and that what one vendor does will likely be impacted by several others. And we need to have a trust but verify methodology of cybersecurity, and that's what the CMMC is. So Prime can know that the subcontractor that they're working with is knowledgeable, they have the critical thinking skills, and they've been CMMC certified to engage and work with them so that they can protect themselves and do risk reduction strategies, as well as ensuring the viability of that partner in the ecosystem. So the maturity model, 5 levels, starting at level 1, that is equal to the FAR 51-21, to CMMC3, which is equal to the DFAR rule that is currently in place, which is the 252.204.7012. And then we have levels 4 and 5, which are the most exquisite cyber capabilities that we can impart onto our national defense. Now, when we did the rule change and we went through, we created what is known, as I like to call it, the crawl, the walk, and the run. So with the 7012 DFAR rule, we now have 3 rules that are weeks away from becoming permanent. They were dropped as interim rules in September of 2020. They went into effect on November 30th, and we are finishing out the adjudication of the comments to go to the final rules. So the first one, let's talk about that. That is DFAR Rule 252.204.7019. And that requires companies that currently have the 7012 clause, the DFAR clause, in their contracts. It requires them to go and to log into the SPRS, the Supplier Performance Risk System, and record their self-assessment of how they are implementing those 110 controls in the NIST 171. They're required to put their SSP. They are required to put the cage code related to the SSP. They are required to put their DUNS number and the date of the assessment. And we have to do that prior to contract award. So that's the first thing that's changed, is that we no longer are going through that self-assessment of, yes, I'm doing those 110 controls in the NIST 171, to verification, and we're trust but verify. So prior to contract award, every partner that has that 7012 clause with the 7019 needs to go in and do a self-assessment. Now, the self-assessment is good for 3 years, and once it's recorded with that cage code, we see it in the Department of Defense. That's the crawl. That's making everybody aware of how critical cyber is, and to make companies think about what they're doing. The walk. That's the 7020 clause. So the same DFAR 252-204-7020 is the walk. And that says that the Department of Defense can send out an assessment team known as the DIBCAC, the DCMA DIBCAC, and they come to the partner and they actually validate what they have recorded in the SPRS database. So they come out. It takes about 2 weeks generally for a level 3 certification between the questions and preparing. And then the department comes out and does an assessment, and they provide a rating. You can, we hope most get DIBCAC high, which is between 90 and 110 controls in execution. There's DIBCAC medium. DIBCAC high is where you want to go. That's where you want to be, because that's going to get your company as prepared as possible for the CMMC. So the 7020 clause in your contract just states that the Department of Defense reserves the right to come and do an assessment. Now, let's say they come out and they do an assessment and you're only doing 70 of controls. This is the time for your company to get good, to close those POAMs. So you have programs that you need to close up. You need to maybe impart two-factor in a facility site that you maybe didn't have prior. This is your time to get to goodness on that. So that's why we're doing it. The crawl, taking the self-assessments and recording them, the walk, having the department come in and say, let's look at what you're doing and make sure you're on the right path, which leads to the run, which is the DFAR rule, which we're all talking about today, which is 252.204.7021. And that's the implementation of the CMMC. Now, with that rule change, the Department of Defense has 5 years to roll cybersecurity out through the whole of our acquisition. So think about that. 300,000 companies need to get CMMC certified in the next 5 years. It's a pretty heavy lift. When we started this program, the department, we thought carefully about this. And making cybersecurity foundational to acquisition wasn't something that we just thought, let's do it one time. This has to be an enduring capability. And we don't have the resources internally to bring in that amount of workforce. So that is why we went to industry back in 2018 and 2019. And we said, this is what we're looking for. We need a nonprofit that can take the model the department's created, the CMMC, and a nonprofit that can go out and make it scalable, repeatable, and auditable. Industry answered and created the CMMC accreditation body, the CMMC AB. So the AB is the only DoD certified authorizers for use of the CMMC model. They have the exclusive right to license out the training and testing for the third-party assessors. So the Department of Defense is asking, just like ISO, if you get an ISO certification, you get a third-party assessor to come in and do an audit. This is exactly the way the CMMC is set up. So the CMMC AB is the entity that trains the assessors. They test the assessors. We do background checks. The department has a no-cost contract with the CMMC AB so that we can process those clearances. So any assessor that's coming into your company, they're going to have a clearance. Once the assessor goes through the training and the certification program, they then have to align themselves up with something called a C3PAO, a Cyber Third Party Audit Organization. Now, these C3PAOs are standing up and they're going to be across the United States. It's not one company, it's not one specific area, it's a multitude. So every C3PAO goes through a rigorous clearance as well, and they too have to be CMMC compliant. Each C3PAO needs to achieve CMMC 3 certification prior to being able to authorize the assessors and to process the audits. That is something that we're relying on the DIBCAC to do. So as the DIBCAC, remember I talked about them a few minutes ago, is authorized to go out and assess on the behalf of the Department of Defense. They are also the organization that is empowered to assess the C3PAOs and assure that they are CMMC 3 certified. Why? Because they're going to be the ones processing your company's information and inputting that into the only place that your company's information will be stored is in EMAS, which is of course built on within the Department of Defense. So we really wanted to assure the industry, A, we're not going to be taking the assessors, not we, the assessors, will not be taking your proprietary information off-site. They will be doing their audits on site. They will be hashing the information on your own network so it will not be transmitted. They will validate your SSP, your program, there on site. They then will transmit that information directly into EMAS, where it will be stored by the Department of Defense to access. So we didn't want any commercial entity to hold all of that proprietary information. Now, the way the CMMC is rolling out is we picked 15 contracting vehicles in FY21. And we are currently in play. We have a couple already out there and one RFP already closed. And the CMMC in those 15 pilots is required at time of contract award. So even though there are RFP out there, and there are, it does not mean that you have to be CMMC certified today. It means that you have to get there by the time of contract award. We did this specifically as we're standing up this program to assure not only industry, but our own, as we've created this model and created the training and the testing to make sure that we were able to be scalable, repeatable, and auditable with the AB, and ensure that we met the timeline for the department. So we are moving out on that. We have, at last I checked, about 150 certified assessors and working through the C3 PAOs. The 15 contracts for FY21 are out there. We have FY22. We are doing 75 contracts. I'm sorry, I had to think for a moment there. And each of those contracts will have about 100 subs to them. So you think about that, your certification, your CMMC certification is good for 3 years and for all of DoD. So that's how we're gaining that scalability. So once you're certified for the next 3 years. And it's all of the contracting vehicles that you're working on in the department currently. So we did want companies to go back and do it again and again for each program or each segment of work. It's across the DoD. So we are rolling out on that. Now, the last couple of seconds that I have to chat with you all. We don't expect all companies to create all of these cybersecurity requirements organically. We are leaning in, looking to industry to create innovative ways. We do intend, we're working the reciprocity with FedRAMP, so our CSPs are definitely a part of what we're doing. Why we call out reciprocity or non-duplication in the CMMC rule is specifically to ensure that if you're using another federally or Department of Defense funded standard that has been validated, we need to make good use of that, FedRAMP. So if you're using a CSP to block in certain controls within your CMMC model, we need to make sure that the CSP you're using is FedRAMP certified. So small businesses, we're not looking for most to be able to create the requirements organically in CMMC level 3. That's a pretty heavy lift. If you think about it, you're going from CMMC level 1, which is 17 virtual no-cost controls, all the way to 130 controls in the CMMC level 3. Now, we've always looked to industry to be innovative, and as we are migrating to the cloud, we assume and support small business and industry as well. So many of you will be using CSPs to provide the controls in the CMMC level 3 by using a CSP, a cloud service provider. What you'll need to do is go through your level 1 assessment and then show how you're using those CSP FedRAMP certified environments to transmit, store, or work on controlled unclassified information. One of the things about the CMMC and the maturity models of level 1 through 5 is that it gives the small business or any business the opportunity to think about how they want to build their capability. Do they want it to be organic, or do they want it to be something that they use other resources? I like to say a jack of all trades, master of none. And if you're really specialized at doing one particular thing, like our CSPs are, and that's protecting you, let's let them do some of the bulk share of the work, and we can put the resources to other areas within your company. So don't be afraid to look and to be creative. That's what we're hoping for in the CMMC, is that we are able to do our best to protect the largest assets that we can at the single time. So CSPs are a great way to do that, where you have the bulk force and your surface area for impact is really, really, really small. And we hope that that is something that industry thinks about as they're developing these capabilities. And we look forward to innovation from our CSPs in the future. If your company has gone through a DIBCAC assessment and has a DIBCAC high, the CMMC AB is going to take that result, and they're going to give you non-duplication or reciprocity for that. So you don't have to prove and spend the time and the energy to redo an audit that you've already completed. We have put out in the DFAR rule the proposed pricing for the CMMC. So, of course, the big baseline to all of this is that cybersecurity is now a allowable cost. So the cost of the CMMC certification and the cost of doing those additional controls that are in those the levels 4 and level 5 are something that we're looking for you to build into your rates. That's why we're paying for it, because we realize cybersecurity is so critically important. So there's a lot more to happen. Just know that we are here in the Department of Defense as hopefully a valued partner with industry, as we've tried to create this entire program lock in step with our industry partners as we look across our great nation, and always remember that we in the Department of Defense rely on you out in industry to build our national defense. And that without it, that partnership, we wouldn't be the greatest nation on this planet. So we thank you. We thank you for your patience and commitment to this effort. Ulysses, thank you for letting me talk today. I know I can go on for quite a while, but the CMMC is happening. It's not slowing down. We're here. We're open to communication about this, but this really is a critical issue for our national defense. And look forward to future conversations. Back to you, sir.
Thank you, Katie. I am confident our audience appreciates this opportunity to learn more on the CMMC program and how to navigate compliance from the DoD leader on CMMC. At AWS, we are customer obsessed and continuously working on opportunities to help our customers leverage the AWS cloud to help achieve their business goals and objectives. We also value the importance of CMMC to our defense industrial-based customers. We are developing solutions to help our customers accelerate their CMMC compliance while reducing the level of effort and risk. We have 2 solution areas to review today. First is the AWS Compliant Framework for DoD and federal workloads, which was released on December 22nd, 2020. And second, the AWS CMMC compliance page. The AWS Compliant Framework for federal and DoD workloads in AWS GovCloud regions was designed to help customers quickly deploy a foundational level of AWS infrastructure that provides an automated, secure, scalable, multi-account environment that is based on AWS best practices. The solution addresses workload hosting requirements for CMMC, as well as the DoD Cloud Computing Security Requirements Guide, impacts level 4 and 5, and is deployed into AWS GovCloud regions. Our AWS GovCloud regions are designed to host sensitive data, regulated workloads, and address the most stringent U.S. government security and compliance requirements. The solution is a new AWS solution implementation, which are vetted, technical reference implementations to help customers solve common problems and build faster. The solution package includes the reference architecture, implementation guide, and AWS CloudFormation template. I invite you to visit the link and learn more about this solution. Next, let's review the AWS CMMC compliance page. This solution helps our customers learn more about CMMC and how our AWS solutions can help you navigate CMMC compliance. The page provides information on the CMMC compliance program, along with frequently asked questions, AWS solutions to help customers with their CMMC compliance, like the AWS framework we previously mentioned, and AWS CMMC blogs. How to access AWS CMMC Customer Responsibility Matrix, which provides compliance information on how AWS solutions help address CMMC requirements practice by practice. An important solution as you work on building your documentation in support of your CMMC assessment. The page also includes AWS programs designed to help you with your AWS Cloud journey and CMMC compliance. I invite you to visit this page with the link provided on the slide. To learn more, please navigate to the AWS CMMC compliance page. If you have any questions, you can select the Contact Us links on the AWS CMMC compliance page or reach out to your AWS account team. Thank you for your time today, and thank you to Katie Arrington for sharing the latest on CMMC. We look forward to helping you with your AWS Cloud and CMMC compliance journey.
Spend less time fixing and more time building. It's that simple. New Relic. Observability made simple.